This is Lucas Ryder, executive producer and the writer of episode 820, Godwin Page. You're listening to the Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
You know, Aaron, chips are not the only thing that's fun-sized. Welcome to the award-winning The Blacklist Exposed podcast. Greetings, one and all. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
What the hell does that even mean? Like, does that mean you're fun-sized? Is that what you're trying to say?
More fun than you.
All right. Well, I'm Agent Aaron Peterson, and don't let your frustration for answers fester. Let those feelings simmer just for this episode, because I understand next week or next 2 weeks?
2 weeks?
It's
2 weeks.
going to be awesome. 2 weeks is going to be awesome. And we're going to tease that a little bit more in a second. Thanks for joining us yet again for number 141 on the Blacklist, Godwin Page, written by Lucas Ryder again and directed by John Terlesky. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com. Before we get into everything, Troy, do you want to tease next week's episode of our podcast?
Oh, wait. You mean the Blacklist is going to take a week off, push us to go all the way into, July at this point to actually air the show? But yet we don't take a week off here at the podcast. Oh, no, sir. No, ma'am. We are doing everything we can to bring you content each and every week, which is why creator, executive producer, and writer of The Blacklist, John Bokenkamp, will be here next week dishing on all things Season 8 and teasing the beginning. Nacello, episode 821, the episode everyone has been waiting for. It is going to be amazing, but it moves. That's right. It moves like the island in Lost. It goes to Wednesdays at 10 Eastern, 9 Central on NBC. So that'll be June 16th, followed up the following week on June 23rd for 822, which will be the finale of this 8th season.
Do you get paid for every Lost reference that you make? Every time you say the word Lost, do you get a nickel or something? It feels like you do.
I'm not allowed to talk about that. I'm under NDA.
Well, I want to do one little tease. Don't miss that interview, because in that interview, you're going to hear about an actor making out with a mannequin. That's all I'm going to say. But just for that fact, you want to listen to that episode. You want to hear that story, and you're only going to hear it on the Blacklist Exposed.
And if you are confused as hell about the ending of the episode we're going to talk about tonight, you'll also want to hear that interview, because he actually gives a concrete, solid, 100% answer to a question that Aaron asks him for the first time in 8 years.
Troy, they were sold on the mannequin. As soon as the mannequin part came, they were like, what? I got to hear that. You just added more fuel to the fire. They don't need that. They just, what? Who made out with a mannequin? You're going to find out only if you listen to that episode, because I won't tell you. Otherwise, I won't do it.
Now, there's a lot of good behind-the-scenes moments in next week's interview, so make sure you come back for that. But first, we have to talk about 820 and what the hell is that compound in the middle of Latvia, nowhere. It's going to be a crazy episode this evening, I think.
Speaking of answers, we got at least two in this particular episode here. We got two answers.
Two answers. But before we can get to any of that, we still have to figure out what the fans said about our profiling question from last week.
Will Townsend tell Liz Red's secret? 99% said no. 1% said yes. So my understanding is 1% have never seen the Blacklist before. That's what I'm going with. They were new this season. They just didn't know. I'm not faulting them. They didn't understand. You weren't going to get answers this episode, but you know what? You did get two. Technically. Becky T said, no, Townsend won't tell Liz Red's secret. Red will tell her himself. Townsend will try, but I don't think he was told the truth. To clear up all the confusion and Liz's anger once and for all, Red will tell her some actual truths in full voice, which means we'll hear it. I do think Townsend was told the truth based on what Red says in this episode.
I think so too. I think maybe not the whole truth, but there's at least, 80% is there.
Some kernels.
Yeah. So he knows some of the story enough that he's changed his positioning on wanting to kill Liz instead of killing Red. But he'll have to settle for killing Red. Oh, but unfortunately he doesn't, because he flew away. Bye, Red.
That just means he's going to show up at the end of the next episode. You know that, right?
Exactly right. Because the chip is still active as far as I was concerned, right?
Exactly. So he's just tracking him. He's just got to get a plane ready. So Red better hurry up with these answers.
That's right. Priscilla said he will, actually tell the answer, but like always, her stubbornness will make her not believe Townsend.
And I think we all want it to come from Red. I think Liz wants it to, so Red it will be. I don't care who it comes from. I honestly don't care. I don't care if they break the fourth wall. John Bokenkamp himself just rolls into frame and says, guys, here's what I was thinking the whole time. That's fine with me. I'll take it. I just want answers.
Well, it's funny you said that John Bokenkamp rolls into the frame breaking the fourth wall to give the answers, because there was another theory out there that says that John Bokenkamp rolls into the frame and Reddington shoots John to protect the answer. I saw that one on the internet the other day, and I was like, okay, it's a little weird, but it's also kind of funny at the same time.
That was pretty funny. I would kind of dig that. It would remind me of Moonlighting back in the day. Moonlighting would have episodes like that, where they completely broke the fourth wall.
We can only hope.
Oh, the question for next week. What will we find in that bunker, which is now known as the Blacklist bunker?
Or as I like to call it, like random Rimbaldi stuff left over from Alias. Kind of had that vibe.
He's going to make that joke at least 2 more times.
For sure.
Be ready.
Sure.
Yeah.
But before Red comments about our mothers, let's go ahead and get into this week's case profile.
Okay, well, we open where we left off. Townsend's out there ready to attack, but Liz finds a wall with a passageway, so they're out. So we were saying last week...
So wait, I got to stop you there, because I have to eat crow. I have to eat crow on 2 things. One, apparently I don't know the difference between chauvinism and chivalry, so I will say, yes, I was wrong. Mark the date, everybody. 8 years, 20 episodes into season 8. Troy finally admitted he was wrong. Yes. Aaron is gloating right now if you can't picture what he looks like on video. But secondly, I was the one that was like, they painted him in a corner. There's no way they're going to get out of this place. And I was like, so like fixated on they're in this freaking room. And then I was like, oh, duh. They're literally in Bino's place with the pipeline. I'm so stupid.
Yeah, me too. I didn't see that one coming. But yes, I was saying Red was a chauvinist last week. That's what I said. That's what I meant.
And you were right.
Yeah, well, some people were saying, like, you guys don't know the difference. And I'm like, I think I clearly explained what it was. I just wasn't going to sit here and keep correcting him because I was trying to move on from it. But, yeah, it's chivalry isn't dead, not chauvinism isn't dead.
That's correct.
I wish chauvinism was dead. It deserves to die.
I am now educated, and I feel 1% smarter.
Good. You should probably go to a training class on that.
I should.
Godwin Page is someone, so they escape, and so we had this big setup in our mind that it was going to be huge, and it wasn't. But we do get a big set piece. We'll come back. We'll come back to that. Godwin Page is summoned by Red. He's Neville's little go-to guy. Page is the key to killing Townsend, technically. I do want to say, as far as Blacklisters go, it feels more like kind of afterthought, but I'll get there in a second. Red brings in Brimley with his delightful wife, Edna. What'd you think of Edna?
I thought Edna was really cool. I love the conversation when Red and Brimley are sitting there and how they met. When they took apart and did the dissection and pulled out the entrails, I'm like, oh man, that's such a great Brimley story at the same time, and it's also just kind of romantic in a way. But yeah, I really loved expanding the network. Like we get to see Glenn's mother this year, we get to see, Brimley's wife this year. I just think it's kind of cool to like introduce new characters even still this late in the process.
Yeah, she was fun, and she's just as maniacal and mischievous and devious as him. So their marriage made in heaven or hell, whichever you want to go with.
Yeah. Seances, and little Satan worship, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever they're into. And a little tickle of the balls, a little castration, whatever the weekend calls for, I guess. She's also a Judge Judy fan, and fun fact, did I ever tell you I was on Judge Judy?
Probably as the defendant, right?
This is a true story. I was a witness to the defendant in a case.
Trying to help the defendant get out of it, or?
Yeah. So here you go. I'll get inside baseball. So number one, whoever wins or loses, the show actually pays that money. So that person isn't out. So they actually pay, because the person I was with lost. Sucks for them.
Well, because they had you on their side. So, I mean, that makes total sense.
Oh, man, it's totally my fault, too. I screwed her whole case up. So I was a witness that one person was suing her, saying that basically that he loaned her money and that she was supposed to pay it back and never did. Well, he actually gave her the money, and I witnessed that. And I witnessed the note, both that he even told her that she did not need to pay it back. So two things. But see, when you're doing it on TV, when you get called up there, you get like a 3-second window, and it's all on cues. I'd never been on TV before. I hadn't been on, like, the whole thing was just, I was just doing it as a favor, but I also had never been to Hollywood. So I was kind of like, Hollywood's a little bit in awe, and it's on a set. Even though it looks like a courtroom, it's a freaking set. There's no top. So at that point, I was very young, and I'm like, they give you, like, when Judge Judy calls you, or when they gave you a cue, and I have to respond at that cue. Well, I took longer than 3 seconds to respond to that cue, and she just ignored me. She just basically cast me off, and my testimony was no longer valid. I was a victim of the Judge Judiness. So my friend lost the case because of me, technically.
We can understand because it took you longer than 3 seconds to explain your Judge Judy thing on this podcast.
Wow, what a son of a bitch. Let's hear about Red Arena one more time, because everybody's not tired of that. All right. Anyway, I was just trying to share with everybody a little fun story. I thought it was cool, but I won't tell you the rest of it then. Anyway, so they met at veterinary school. Moving on. Paige is key to this episode, but it's a very character-driven episode, so let's just jump into the characters.
Absolutely. So I only caught one song this week when Liz literally flies the coop inside the box. We hear Constantinople by Trent Meller. And you can hear that on the playlists over for Apple Music and Spotify by visiting our website, theblacklistexposed.com. We got links to both of those over there. Plus, you can also buy Dave Porter's album on iTunes and on Amazon.
Is it all Blacklist music?
All Blacklist music, yeah. Maybe so. I think there's some Breaking Bad on there. I'm trying to remember. He has one that's like all Blacklist stuff, and then he's got like another one I think that's like a mixture of TV stuff. But yeah, go check it out. It's really good.
Okay. Well, moving on, Townsend this week doesn't really do a whole lot. I mean, he's just running around trying to find Liz, and he does find the tracker, but when they get there to track her, she's already gone. She's on a plane, flew right over his head, which means the tracker's still in play unless Liz got rid of it, which I'm sure she didn't, because that will make it far too easy for them to escape.
She was asleep for 8 hours, though, so maybe Red found it and turned it off.
Don't bank on it. Park didn't do a whole lot, so we're going to go to Panabaker.
Was Park even in this episode? I don't even remember seeing her. Oh, she was doing the wrestler babysitter watch.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. Well, he's going septic, which makes me go,
Keen, are you there? Keen, what's happening?
Diego signed for 9? Because it's not looking good. Everybody's like making it seem like he's out of the woods, but sepsis is bad, and they're very underplaying that.
Yeah, the infection is spreading.
He's out of it, but he's sepsis.
Spreading.
It's okay. Yeah, not good. Not good. Not looking good for a wrestler. Panabaker, I believe my ex might someday remove his face from the ample bosom of the 22-year-old he left me for, but that seems about as likely as Neville Townsend blowing the roof off a black site and flying off of the box. You know what I'm saying? I'm just connecting it all right there.
Yeah, I think Panabaker's a smart one. That's what I think. Like, she knew from the get-go, like, there is no way Townsend did this. This is Red Reddington 100%. Like, Panabaker is not stupid. Kudos to her.
What did you think about the idea? Because, okay, here's the thing. That whole escape scene where the helicopter lands, and apparently they don't have enough people on site to actually come after these people, that it should be guarding Liz to begin with. Like, there should have been some guards there. I don't know. And they blow the top off. They take the box. They're flying around the town. There's no fighter jets. There's none of that stuff. I mean, it's a ridiculous set piece. On the same token, I'm a big fan of ridiculous. I mean, I love the Fast and Furious movies, so I can swallow ridiculous if you make it fun, and that was fun.
Yeah, I think the minute it happened, it was like, this is so cool, and yet such a stretch. I feel like I'm watching like a Spider-Man movie or something where they're literally lifting like a giant robot to the raft prison in the middle of the bay or something.
I really dug it. I mean, I know people are probably going to nitpick it. I don't care, man. I had fun with it because that is the kind of stuff where I can swallow it. Like, okay, I mean, it's a show. It's not trying to be real life. So it's an absurd reality, and that works for me. And I think it was funny that Cooper was sitting there defending Red over and over, and nope, it was Red the whole time.
Plus, isn't there a no-fly zone over Washington, D.C.? I'm just saying.
They would be shot down.
They would
I
totally be
guarantee
shot
you
down.
that helicopter would have been shot down. Yeah.
But it was cool. I did like the camera shot as the chopper flew away. That was a nice touch with the Washington
It was a
Monument
cool
in the
set
background.
piece.
Yeah.
But the other character portion of Panabaker is she says Liz is going to be scrubbed. And scrub means killed.
Yeah.
And that means she can never come back to the post office.
Which I was surprised, and maybe you know that, I mean, we always hear like, a burn notice has been put out on somebody, usually involved with the CIA. I've never heard a burn notice being used for an FBI agent.
Well, you also don't see FBI going overseas. So,
Right.
typically.
It's true.
It's a TV show. They're not trying to 100% procedural accuracy. But I would say that is interesting. But, I don't think the government would sanction that anymore. Usually burn notice means you're wiped. You're burnt. You can't be an agent
disavowed.
anymore. Disavowed, yeah. Not usually wiped from the planet. So I thought that was interesting, man. They're really taking a hard stance. And, I think Liz is officially a fugitive forever now.
Well, and I think that's something that's still in play as we move into 21 and 22. We can't not forget that nugget, right? There could be people that legitimately are going to try to kill her over the next 2 weeks.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Dembe didn't do a whole lot. He did say the apropos thing, considering the circumstances, perhaps we help each other. You dumbasses. Stop fighting. That's essentially what he was saying.
Always the spiritual guide. So wise, that man. So wise.
Aram gets a little heart-to-heart with Liz. He realizes now this is her. Maybe he thinks maybe this is Liz, though, the other one was kind of the fake. Maybe she's an illusion all along. And that's, Liz is trying to tell him, hey, people aren't good or bad. They just are. And they're both me. We're not mutually exclusive. So what did you think about the heart to heart where Aram kind of has to come to the realization that Liz isn't all just sweetness?
Yeah, not all puppy dogs and rainbows. She's definitely got a dark side to her. And I think this is great because I think this is something I mentioned a few weeks ago, that we had the issue around, Aram had been duped with the floor is lava. Aram had been duped with the explosive. Like Aram has just been constantly, duped again by the Cyranoid. It's at some point he's just gonna be like, come on, Liz, like you can't keep stepping all over me. And I think this was that moment where he finally said, hey, Liz, what's up? Like you stepped all over me. Like, I don't even know who you are anymore. So to have that heart-to-heart conversation, I think this was the perfect timing for that conversation to happen. So I think it's a great character move, and just it shows that Aram understands. It shows that Liz understands how much she's probably hurt Aram at the same time, and so that they can at least move forward, whatever that next thing is going to be, where Aram is going to have to step in front of a gun again to maybe save her life.
Oh, don't say that. I don't want...
Well, I mean, he did it once before.
We got season 9
right?
coming.
Yeah, he did it once before with the director. So, if they literally have a burn notice, a kill notice out for her, would Aram actually step in front of a gun to save her? That's a good question.
I think he would. I have no doubts about it. Liz also asked if he vetted the agents on site. So I guess the implication is maybe some of those agents were Red's payroll.
Or
the whole time.
Townsend's payroll. Or
Townsend's
whoever's payroll.
Sure.
I kind of like the look on his face. He's like, was I supposed to?
Yeah. My bad. I'll be out of here. Taking off. He did kind of leave her, though, didn't he? Didn't he kind of leave her hanging?
Kind of. Well, the minute she said that, then all of a sudden it was like what's that noise? And then the helicopter comes in.
And she's like, get out of here. And he does. I'm like, what are you doing getting out of here? Get back here. Fight, man. Well, somebody actually trying to fight for their life is Wrestler. He's in the hospital, and he's on the call with Keen when the chopper arrives at the post office. But they're talking about the sepsis. Do you think this is possibly the end for Wrestler?
That's a really good question.
And here's why I asked that, okay? This is TV. But typically, when you have a character get shot and they make it through the episode, you're like, all right, they're going to be okay. But in the next episode, they're talking about how he's awake, but he might have sepsis. Now, sepsis can be fatal in many instances. It feels to me like they're building to a huge character death.
I think
that's what it feels like.
I think by season 8, you have to have a huge character death. Whether it's Wrestler, whether it's Liz, whether it's Red, whether it's somebody has to die this year, or close to it anyway, to make some kind of big splash in order to make season 9 be like, oh, I got to come back for season 9, right? Because I think a lot of the fans are like, man, really 9? Are we really going to 9? Seriously? But I think if there's a big enough splash and a good enough cliffhanger and like enough of answers that 9 could actually work, it'd be very interesting to see where they go with the show, obviously. But yeah, I definitely think there's something going, whether it's going to be like, wrestler makes a full recovery, but Liz dies, or Liz shows up and wrestler dies at the last moment and she can't get there in time. Like there's just something between the two of them because they built up this whole, Keenler relationship that the two of them are going to get ripped apart some way, somehow. It's like a Romeo and Juliet story in a way.
Yeah, very much. So I do think, if people are watching going, well, wrestler's out of the woods, I don't think he is yet.
I don't think so yet.
You want to keep an eye on it. Yeah.
Keen, are you there? Keen,
I'm fading. I'm seeing the light. I see the light. Oh no, it's just Red. He's here to kill me because I knew the truth. Damn it. All right, Cooper wants to make a deal for Keen, but Panda Baker says no, even though Keen is as responsible for all the people caught as Red. Do you agree with that assessment?
I think it was a little harsh on Panda Baker's point of view that she wouldn't at least be open to the conversation about it.
Especially as many deals as they give.
Yeah, I mean, they given Godwin was going to get a deal in this episode. So it's like to have that just hovering out there and be like, no, she's bad. Like it goes right into her speech that she gave last week. It's like Red can do all this stuff and I'm the one that gets busted. Like what the hell's up with that? Where's the evenness? Where's the inclusion? It's just like what is going on? I don't understand. So for Panda Baker, and I think for Panda Baker also being a woman, like she would understand the things that Liz would be going through, death of her supposed mother, all the things that she's been put through Red's crazy stories and life and whatnot, and being forced to be away from her daughter. And I would think Panda Baker would sympathize with Liz before Cooper would, actually, to be quite honest. I think Cooper would have been more of the hardliner.
Well, I think Cooper's learning the hard way that Keen is a little edgier than he thought. And by the way, Red knows a guy that can fix that roof. I thought that was a fun little...
It sure was.
Little line. It was like, I know a guy that can fix the roof. Yeah, that's funny. You ripped it off. Okay, so we talked about the DOJ directive, which is the burn notice they want her scrubbed. Now, they also mention when they want her eliminated and the task force disavowed. So when they do, it's curtain call on this program. So that says to me, as long as Liz is in the wind, the program remains.
Yes, agree. 100%.
That's the way I understood it.
Yeah, as long as we don't have Liz to be able to put a button on the bow, basically, the program still operates. But if we ever do capture Keen or kill Keen, then we'll basically say, we don't know any of this happened, and you guys are on your own. And that might be an interesting way to go into 9, is like there is no task force. Everybody operates independently, and we see how that works out.
All right, well, now we're moving on to Liz and Red. So Liz, maybe Bino could have told us how to find it if you hadn't killed him.
Great
I like
line.
that little snark. Yeah.
I laughed out loud.
Some great snark. Yeah. Liz gives Red up to a cop and makes her escape. And I want to know what you thought about this, because I thought that was kind of fun. Because, you just assume, fans have always said for a long time they get really tired when Liz backtracks, where she's like, I'm against Red, but now I'm going to forgive him. Well, they haven't done that. She hasn't backtracked this whole season.
No.
Like, she has not given that up at all. She is insistent that she is going to keep moving forward until she gets some answers, which it looks like she's finally going to get them. So I love that. I really love that. I'm sure fans hated it, but I loved it.
No, I thought it was really clever. Like, she's like, oh, there's a cop out there. We got to go. And then Liz is just like, okay, I'll go. See you later.
Yep.
Like, totally. I was like, oh, wait, she's really going outside. Like, what is she going to say? Like, isn't she wanted as well? Like, is there a bolo out for her? That's where I was kind of like getting a little nervous. I'm like, what is going to happen here? And then she's like, oh, there's a man in there with a hat. Go get him. And then she just walks away. Like, brilliantly moved on her part. And I totally agree. Like, she does not back down this episode at all, even to the point where even right before the plane, she does that like, oh my God, this song and dance again. Like, I can't believe we're going to go down this road. Like, she's being held against her will for most of the episode in Red's custody. So, and then she gets put on the plane, and then she finally is like, okay, so you're really going to tell me some stuff. I'm listening. Right. But they're still not working together, even when they get to the crazy site in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. And we're getting to the answers. There were two answers. We're going to get there. Hang on. All right. So she turns herself in, takes up some space in Red's box, which doesn't have a bathroom. I asked that question of John Bokenkamp next week. So we're going to talk about the bathroom facilities in that box. People aren't good or bad, Aram. Whatever I've done, it's all me. Anyone who went through what I went through would have done the same, or worse. Obviously alluding to Red. You agree with that synopsis from her? Because I do. I've been saying that for a while, so I 100% do.
Yeah, no, she 100%. You would absolutely do everything that you needed to do in order to get through the crap, basically, and come on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, Anne, feel bad for her, but it's on Anne's head. Wait, that wasn't the right way to word that. Anyway. All right. So Liz tells Paige how to remove the chip. Once again, she doesn't back down. She's against Red until she gets answers. Love that. I really love that because I was really expecting some waffling or something in this episode. Because they're together for so much time, I'm like, oh, please don't have her turn back, or please let him slide on anything. Like, hold him accountable, and she does the whole episode. So she removes the chip. If I assume that's the only chip that we're aware of. And Liz denies helping the guy escape, which I thought was kind of funny. Wasn't me. Hey, wasn't me.
No, you just told me to sit here and shut up. And that's exactly what I did. Back in the stall.
Yep. Margaret French is her alias. It's a fun little touch to the lady babysitting her kid. She'll be at the Golden Leaf Hotel, which, okay. All right. So this gets her in the airplane. When she escapes, we talked about that. We're kind of speeding through some stuff because we want to get to the answers.
The juicy squeeze.
Yeah, exactly. And next week's interview, I think, is really going to elaborate on a lot of other things that we could be talking about, but we're probably going to skip over. But her scar. We've talked about this forever. Fans have speculated like crazy about that scar, and we finally have an answer. It's a waterway in Latvia, and it's
specifically the Baltic Sea. Yeah.
Specifically the Baltic Sea, yeah. Yes. So we have that answer, and basically it's how close the scar resembles the Baltic Sea. That's why it became the symbol for Red's operation. What did you think of this? Did it blow your mind? Was it close to anything you ever thought? Did it go the opposite way of what you thought? Like, where are you at with this whole scar reveal?
Yeah, I think the fans, many of us had speculated Baltic Sea since season 1. And that it was tied into, the Eastern Bloc of the Soviet Union in a way. But I think what was really eye-opening from the conversation was more around the concept that it's not that the Baltic Sea influenced the scar, it's that the scar happened first. It was a product of the fire. And because that happened, and it was so traumatic for Red to witness that at that moment when he was present at the fire, in what shape or form we still don't know, but he was present at the fire, saw what happened, saw the pain it caused, that it like burned an image into his brain. And then when he saw the Baltic Sea on a map, that's where he said, yep, that's where I have to set up my operation for whatever this 30-year project is. So I think it was interesting that it was the scar that influenced the Baltic versus the Baltic influencing the scar.
I just thought, I don't really know what I thought of the scar. The scar's always been one of those things where I'm like, okay. I mean, people want to make it seem like the symbol was there first. The symbol of the whole organization was there first, and somehow that scar was put on her to some degree. I think that's how a lot of people have alluded to it. And I'll be honest, the scar has never really been a primary concern of mine. Like, it's kind of a fun nugget, but I don't really know how it all ties in. I mean, the symbols are the same. That's kind of cool. How is it connected? I don't know. So I kind of like this explanation. I really dug it. Like, it's so close to the Baltic Sea that it became the face of the organization to a degree. And that's also a connection to Liz/Masha. And I really dug that. I thought that was really clever, really smart. And the fact that the scar was planted in the first episode, so we finally have an answer, gave hope to someone like me who's craving answers desperately that we're going to get some, that we're actually on the road to the path, the promised land. The promised land, not necessarily we're going to get everything, but we're going to get some real tangible nuggets finally so we can put some stuff to bed. And I think that, and obviously probably open up more questions, but I'm just so excited about that.
I think the other thing that it does is that it confirms once and for all that Red said the scar happened during the fire when Liz was 4 years old, which means in the pilot, when she says, my dad gave this to me when I was 14, this proves that Liz was purposefully lying to Red to not give out enough information for Red to just dig more into her life in that moment. So it's not that it was a miswriting from the pilot or that they had to change it later because it didn't fit the story. I think this just goes to show, like, yes, Liz was lying to Red in the pilot about when the scar happened.
Absolutely. Okay, now we're going to move on to Red. I think we got a truth here, too. Page is a logistical genius. That's fine, and he escapes, but I got to say, pretty lackluster Blacklister, right? Say that 3 times real fast.
Yeah, I think
it really doesn't impact the story very much.
Yeah, it was just it's a MacGuffin in order to find Townsend. Like, this is the guy that can help us get there. Yeah.
Yeah, gateway. Red says he's going to tell Liz everything. By whispers, I'm guessing.
I'm sure.
Liz, here's the truth. Got it? I got it. Okay.
He was pretty vocal this episode. He was in clear daylight. Let's start with the things that you do know.
Exactly. It's a wonder you're a good mother when yours was so bad. Now, he rarely says disparaging remarks about Liz's mom. Any thoughts on that line at all?
No, I thought this was really an interesting nugget to throw in there, because the more and more I kept listening to the dialogue, I kept thinking, like, he's talking about 2 different people, but then when you listen to it again, it's like, well, the 2 different people could be the same person, and it's like 2 different personalities that he's referring to. So I think that it's still like there was no definitiveness in there in the conversation. But yeah, it was weird to have him say, like, she's bad, she's awful. And I think the other challenge is he talking about Katerina Rostova, her mother, or was he referring to Fakerina, her mother, in that particular moment? I wasn't sure which mother he was referring to, because it was interesting the way he just kind of said it.
Do you ever think you overthink the crap out of things?
There's a lot of us in the fandom that overthink a lot of things.
I mean, if you take away your absolute slavishness to the whole Red Arena theory, it really just reads like he's talking about someone else. But because you're so beholden to that and you try to make everything fit, it's like you're trying so hard to make everything fit. I'm just saying. But
it does fit still, in a way.
Not really. No, not really. It only fits if you're forcing. It's like trying to force a round nut into a square nut into a round. I don't remember how that saying goes. It's too late. It's too late at night. I can't get that saying right. Anyway, we'll probably have much more to say on that topic next episode.
But why don't we go there with Katerina then? So, do you feel in the dialogue that he is confirming that the Katerina Rostova we saw in season 7 and season 8, that Katerina Rostova was indeed a fake?
Yes, I think that's fairly clear to me.
Would you consider that an answer? You think it was clear enough that you would call it an answer?
Yes. I think it's clear enough to say that the Katerina Rostova we saw is not Liz's mom and was Fakerina. Now, her role in all of this was not clear by that dialogue at all. I think we can we can guess she was put there to make it look like Katerina was killed. But I think it was fairly clear that that's what they were saying. You agree with that?
I think so. Like, you have to forget about everything that you know. I think that was a very poignant line. I also think that was a line that was said specifically for the fans. Like, just go into next week completely open-minded, I think is what Red was saying when he talked to Liz in that moment. Like, anything you think you figured out, you don't know shit.
And clearly you were not listening, because you've already not been able to do that. And we haven't even gotten close to that episode yet. And you're still like...
Still 2 weeks away.
Yeah. You got to shake it off. You got to Taylor Swift that. Just get it out of there. All right. Liz turns on the chip. Red takes him on the plane. We already talked about that. And here's some lines from the episode. Okay, I wrote a bunch of this down. Some of it I kind of summed up just because of it, Red wanders.
Yeah.
But the majority of it. So here's some fun stuff. The true measure of a man isn't what he reveals to the world, but what he hides from it. Okay, I don't know who said that, but that just sounds like the measure. Well, I guess it's because your secret's really defined. Like all your secrets aren't going to be out there. So it's really who you are as a person. It doesn't necessarily mean what you show the world. It's like what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's the quintessential social media question of, on Facebook, you look like, oh yeah, I'm on vacation. Look, I'm at the beach. Look, you only show the fun parts of your life when you put stuff out on social media. You never show the dark stuff, the bad stuff, the bumpy stuff. And so when you really figure out, like when you see that kind of stuff that you hide from the world, that really shows you like if you were truly able to rise above those situations or if you succumb to your demons.
Yeah, I'm bored with that. All right, some more stuff that he says. The night of the fire. There are no words to describe what it felt to see you in such pain. Meaning he's there. He was there. That scar is the permanent reminder of the choices we've made that shaped your life together. The scar became the symbol of the most important aspect of this business, and a promise to protect you from it. And this is where it all began. Along the banks of the sea, it resembles. Aww. Now, to me, we've made that shaped your life. That could mean Dom. That could mean Red. That could mean Katerina. That could mean a lot of things. So the we is kind of open. Why were you there? The fulcrum. She wasn't alone. There were others. I knew your mother better than she knew herself. This is where you're going to jump in, right?
I mean, I can, but you told me to shut up, so I'll shut up, I guess.
I'm just saying, like you hear that, and you're like, Red Arena. And I hear that, and I say, that's someone who was maybe training her, or maybe worked directly with her, was very close with her.
A lover, potentially?
Sure. I mean, or a close friend. I want to say, I really think lover's not the answer. I really feel like it's someone more like a close friend, close brotherly, something. I've said that for a long time. And that's not because I'm fixated on that. That's the vibe I feel whenever he describes her. So it's less romantic and more family, So that's what I hear when I
is it family or is it familial? I can never say that word. Familial.
Yeah. I knew your mother better than she knew herself. I think that maybe some of that is because she really didn't know herself that well. Like she had a heart, like she was so ingrained in
the spy
being
life.
A spy.
Yeah.
And living a lie for everyone, that she didn't know herself that well. So that's what that could mean. It could easily mean these things that you just refuse to even take as an option. But I'm pointing that out. I think it's important to point out for people.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, like, how long do you need to know somebody, or how intimately do you need to know somebody to say that you know them better than yourself? Is it 6 months, a year, 2 years? I mean, we've been doing this crap for, a long time.
Again, I mean, one of the theories that I've danced with is that they were raised to be spies. So they grew up together. They had handlers. They were together, like they were part of a spy clique or family or something along those lines, which would explain why so many of them are spies still. Yeah, I mean, that would make sense to me that they were that close, if that were the case, if it were something like that, like it was a training of spy kids kind of thing. I don't know. So they're escorted to the quote-unquote epicenter, where it all started. Let's start with one you already know, the identity of N13. So it's confirmed Red is N13. The story you heard, but Red didn't steal anything. The Sikorsky archive was a gift. One of your mother's closest friends and colleagues gave it to him. You need to forget what you think you know. Katerina Rostova was never framed or killed. The archive was a seed that would become one of the most sophisticated intelligence networks in existence, with her blessing and knowledge, and one guiding principle, to give him the power to keep her safe and her mother hidden. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's that last line that goes, it really sounds like he's talking about two different people. At the same time, I really love this idea that the Sikorsky archive wasn't actually, I mean, to some people it was probably stolen, but really at the end of the day, it was a project, it sounds like, from the SVR or the KGB or whoever. I mean, it was truly a way to set up almost like its own cabal, but it sounds like that everybody involved with the Sikorsky archive was of Russian origin. So I find it fascinating to find out what we're going to learn next week, to say like, well, was it just Russians, or was it like other countries? Was it partnered with, the Brits, the Israelis, the United States? Like, who is all part of this plan to create this network of sophisticated intelligence operatives in order to do the things they needed to do and operate in the shadows they needed to operate in to make this all happen? And why Katerina and why Liz? Why keep them safe? Why are they so special? Those are the new big questions I have. Like, man, it seems like a lot of work for two people.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I do like that the identity is confirmed, even though we kind of already knew that from many, many episodes ago. But, people, I think because of how the Blacklist is, it's kind of hard to believe anything until Red says it, right? I mean, that's always the problem. If Red doesn't say it out loud, people don't believe it.
Well, and Red has to specifically say it out loud to Liz, because that's the rule of the show, that Red doesn't lie to Liz. He omits, but he never lies. So when he says something to Liz directly on screen, we could take that as a fact, as a truth.
Well, he said before in previous episodes that he doesn't lie, period.
Right.
He just dances around things. So, I mean, to anyone, he's told that to Cooper that, I haven't lied to you. I've just found a way to dance around it. So when he says anything overtly, I feel like you can take it at face value. Yeah. We don't always do that, but I think we can.
You're in 13. Yes. Done. Book closed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I'm fascinated by that, and I agree with you. Like, to me, that says he's speaking about two different people. He's talking about her and her mother, two different people. He's not talking about himself, Troy, or herself.
But it could still read that way as well.
If you desperately wanted it to.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't. So it doesn't read that way to me at all.
I'm just saying, there's still hope. There's still hope.
I mean, I don't know what the hope, like, you're so beholden to a theory, you hope that it is what you want it to be, despite all evidence to the contrary. Like, it'll be just fine without that theory being in existence. Like, it'll be fine, be going a different way.
I mean, I'm sure there's people that'll be like devastated if that doesn't turn out that way. But at the same time,
get that.
But at the same time, it's like, it's a theory that still holds 8 years in. There's enough things in the show, and it's written in a certain way that theory can still exist. I think that's the big thing. It's like, out of all the theories that have been out there, it's like this one theory just won't go away. And I think that's the fun part about it.
Mostly because you won't let it, Troy. Because it's gone away a long time ago for me. Like, I've seen so many things that contradict that. It boggles my mind how you still are on it, honestly. But you know what? I wish you the best.
Because I called it so early, I just wanted to be right. After however many it's 29 months of television watching, like, I got to get one right sometime.
I think you got better odds with pretty much any other guess you got. But you do what you got to do. All right. So this place was part of a machine that this vision manifested. His life's work for the past 3 decades. I would say that this is the 30-year project he referenced.
Yep.
Then the gates to hell open, to the bunker open. They look into what we don't see, and he says, "This is the Blacklist." Did that surprise you at all, that we're actually going to learn what the Blacklist is through Red's eyes?
Well, I think the Blacklist is just what we've come to know what it is. It's a list of operatives, corporations, government people that literally...
Well, this feels very literal, though. Like,
Yeah.
This feels very literal in many respects.
I mean, I don't think the building is the Blacklist. I don't think there's like a computer inside, like the machine in a Person of Interest or something like that. I think he's truly saying, like, the operation was to gather intelligence on the powers that be that make the world work, and have enough information that we could then blackmail those people in order to get them to do the bidding that we want them to do in order to keep our criminal empire going.
Interesting. Well, that's it for the episode, because this episode is like a giant T-ball for the next one. I mean, it's just getting the ball set up so you can knock it out of the park, Bokenkamp.
I mean, most people call that like a softball, but I suppose if it's like even easier, then it's a T-ball. But
that's what I'm going with.
It's a new one. I'll take it.
Absolutely. Okay, well, you want to take a quick second to say thank you to those of you. There's more shows, so don't leave just yet. Thank you for those of you that are supporting the show by going to Patreon. That's Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Special big thanks to our honorary Blacklister Patricia. Also special shout out to our task force members, Judy and Sharon, Rory, Karen, Bobby, Jens, and now Mary, all official task force members. All of these people receive really cool gifts from us. You can get a cool gift too by donating at the $20 level or higher. If you want a cool t-shirt or coffee mug, something along those lines, you don't have to stay at that level forever. Just a few months, you get cool gifts.
And because we have a special interview next week, if you come in at the $5 level, you're going to get to hear that interview before anybody else. As soon as I can get it edited and recorded, I will get that out as quickly as I can to all of you $5 or more patrons over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Fill the fedora. Even if you can't give it that level, throw a buck to Aaron, throw a buck to me. Just $2 gets you part of the special behind-the-scenes team that we love and so appreciate 8 years running.
It's an interview you don't want to miss. Like, he really talks about a lot of stuff.
A lot of
important stuff.
A lot of definitive stuff. And a lot of great behind-the-scenes stuff about Season 8. It's fascinating stuff. All right, well, we'll have your thoughts and theories coming up right after this.
You go through there, it's 1960.
Stephen King's time travel thriller, 11/22/63, is coming to Hulu. And Golden Spiral Media will journey down the rabbit hole with 11/22/63, A Look Back. Join Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinrichs as they journey through the obdurate past. Life turns on a dime. So join us at 11/22/63podcast.com.
Hey, Dembe loyals, this is Hisham Tawfiq. You are listening to Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
Okay, Special Agent Intel. Sharon Crady had thoughts on last week's episode. I thought last night's episode was really good. Liz has lost almost everything. Her team, her sister, freedom, but she still has Agnes. Her sole focus on finding answers about Reddington is blinding her to the fact that she needs to figure out the truth about her. What's the deal with the scar on her wrist that matches the carving on the top of Tom's hidden box? Who was your mother? Was she a Russian spy or more? I think the truth lies within her and not Reddington. Well, you got the scar answer, for sure.
Yeah, but the truth does lie with Reddington, and we'll find out in 2 weeks. Why 2 weeks? Oh my God, give it to me now. Carly wrote in and said, hey, Aaron, can you start saying Troy's question again when Troy says the question? I think it was one of my favorite parts of the podcast. By the way, Aaron, you are 100% the voice of reason, and I love when you guys argue like an old married couple. If I wanted to hear somebody just recap the episode, I would find some other generic podcast to listen to. Aw, thanks, Carly.
Oh, Carly. Well, let me tell you how wrong this bitch is. Let me tell you. He's still stuck on this theory that died years ago. Why won't he let it go, Carly? Why? That is Aaron's question. I don't know why he won't let it go. I just don't know. I can't understand it.
Because then Carly would be bored with the podcast. So I keep it flaming.
I don't think she cares
so
if you would drop
and I
that
can just
theory.
like have these arguments all the time.
I think it's because there's like this rabid following for that theory, and you just like that there's this rabid following for it.
Hey, the shoe fits. I can't help it if they like me more, Aaron. It's fine.
I will keep an eye out, Carly. It's like it's hard to find the right opening for Troy's question because there's a problem. See, Troy doesn't stop talking long enough for me to actually say that out loud. And to get it to really ring, you have to have that like brief quiet after he says question. Like, so here's my question. And then he keeps going. So it's like when a wind-up toy won't stop zipping around the room, it's really, really hard to get anything in there.
Plus,
you know
he's so focused now on listening for the word Tom that he can't hear the question because he just wants to clap all the time, like a monkey.
No, I'm not feeding it. You're not doing it. Nope. All right, Callie wrote in, but thank you for that. I appreciate you saying I am the voice of reason because that's obviously a fact. See, no one's disputing it. Callie wrote in, something to consider. I agree that Red should just tell Liz everything. Not because of any entitlement, but because through her pursuit, she has become a danger to herself and the people close to her. Hey, whatever works. She just needs answers. Liz thinks she is entitled to know Red's secrets because of everything she has suffered and every one she has lost since the pilot. However, if she is going to place universal blame on someone, I think the bigger culprit she should actually be blaming is Tom. Fine. I'm good with that. Anything we can do to make Tom look more negative, I am on board. Prior to the pilot, Liz's life had been fine for 20 plus years, and she had no knowledge of Reddington. Even though Red initially hired Tom, Tom's betrayal is the reason Red finally made himself known to Liz. Yes, Red has guilt by the pure fact he is a criminal. But it is Tom's actions at multiple points throughout his tenure that set off disastrous chains of events, including his own death, eventually leading us to the current circumstance in the show. If Tom had just done what he was originally supposed to all those years ago, Liz would probably be married to Nick, enjoying success as an FBI profiler, and the only loved one she would have lost is Sam due to natural causes. If Tom had just left the bones alone, he likely would still be alive, and he and Liz could be at peace right now, raising Agnes together. If Tom didn't always just disregard Red, Red would not have had to spend the last 8 seasons cleaning up the aftermath of Tom's messes and now forced to reveal his secrets that he spent over 30 years trying to protect. It's like I wrote this myself, and I didn't. I swear to God I didn't. But, Callie, I see you. I see you.
It's all valid points, actually. Like, is it really Red's fault for not telling him the secrets, or is it really Tom's fault? I think
go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off
because
I'm sure you want to talk about Red Arena or something.
I'm like, this is all like, yes, I agree. Tom, I guess it's Tom's fault. My eyes have been opened after 8 years.
Really deserved a visit from Edna. That's what he deserved.
For sure.
Really would have made everything complete. There. And you know what? I hope that email really illustrated my dislike for Tom Keene. I believe one in particular person who runs the show was asking me, which you haven't heard yet, about my disdain for this man. I hope that explains it, sir, if you're listening. I hope that explains it. I think it was pretty clear.
I'm glad you have a friend.
I mean, I'll take whatever I can get. I thought you were one, but
I'm just your wife, apparently.
Like an old married couple. Make me a sandwich.
Sounds good.
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry too.
I'm really hungry. I could use a sandwich. Well, I think that's going to do it, man. So is there anything you want to talk about, like, about this next episode? Like, what are you thinking about?
I'm thinking
the beginning.
I'm thinking I'm just going to sit back, relax, and just take it in, and turn off the light, close the door, watch it in my own way, and just sit with it and just see. I mean, it feels like this is one of those, like, well, I'm hungry, so I need to get a sandwich later, so I need some cash. So it feels like one of those Lost finales where you just, like, go.
See, seriously, how much do you get? Like, do you just get a residual right there?
Yeah,
just by saying it?
Yeah, $10.
God, that's a sweet deal. Lost. Do I get it too?
But I remember those nights when the Lost finale came on for each season, and you just like do not call me, do not talk to me, turn your phone off, sit in a dark. Like, that's how I want to be next week. Like, do not definitely. Even, like, I don't want to hear a text from anybody. Like, just leave me alone. And I swear to God, if anybody that's listening to this podcast spoils the next episode or the next 2 episodes for anybody in the fandom, anybody, we will come find you. Let people experience the next 2 weeks on their own. Do not go digging. Do not believe what you read on Reddit. Whatever you think you know, you don't know. So just experience it. We've been waiting 8 years for this. Do not ruin it for yourself.
I feel like I just got scolded. I don't go looking for that stuff anyway. So I do a very good job of avoiding spoilers. It's really not that hard, guys, if you don't want to see them. You just avoid them. It's that simple.
And if you have the information and you want to put it out there, don't be an ass about it. Put it somewhere where people actually have to go hunt and find it, rather than just, like, posting it in Facebook in the top comment. Like, not even the comment, like the actual post. Like, don't put it in the post. Put it in the comment at least.
To like, was it Reddit or something like that, where they were putting, click here. I got a question about something random. Click here if you want to find some important information, and then they put like Rey is Palpatine's daughter, or something like that. Like as soon as you clicked it, just to totally ruin that movie when it came out. That was cruel, but kind of funny. Don't be like that.
Don't be like that.
Spoiler alert, by the way, for The Last Skywalker, or whatever the hell that movie was.
It's
Rise
been
of
like
the
3
Skywalker.
years.
Okay. Okay, well, that's going to do it. We're done. I swear to God, we're done. We're out of here. We kind of rambled this episode. The interview is fantastic. You're going to really enjoy that. And I can't wait for you guys to see the next episode. I can't wait to see the next episode. I'm saying that I had actually seen it, but I trust Bokenkamp, and he seems pretty proud of this one. So I think you guys do not want to miss 821, the beginning, in Russian.
Nacello, I believe is how you say that.
What he said. So that's going to conclude this discussion. Now is the time to recommend the Blacklist to your friend, your enemy, or your neighbor. And when you do, please also recommend they listen and subscribe to the Blacklist Exposed podcast. All case profiles can be found at theblacklistexposed.com and everywhere great podcasts can be heard. And as you just heard Troy say, the interview will be up early for Patreon supporters if you want to hear it.
Yes, and then it'll be up at the regular time next week, and then we move to Wednesdays, again, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, on June 16th and June 23rd in the States for 821 and 822. So make sure you adjust your DVRs, adjust your streaming schedules, whatever you need to do. But remember, we're moving to Wednesdays, people. We're going to do our best to get the episode out to the Patreon people right as the episode ends, as usual. I mean, Aaron has some conflicts, obviously, on Tuesday nights with his other podcast. So we're going to do our best to see what we can make happen. So just hang on tight. It's going to be a fun ride all the way to the end. And big thanks for listening. He's at Aaron Smirks. I'm at Troy Heinrichs. And our question for the week, what will we find in that Rembaldi bunker? I had to throw the Rembaldi in there because Aaron said I was going to talk about it all show, and I didn't talk about it at all. So there you go.
Seriously, like between Lost and Alias, I just feel like your residuals are through the roof.
I haven't even brought Fringe into the equation yet.
Jeez, I'm out. Bye. See ya.
See you guys. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs. That's at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsider.com or on Twitter at 5popcorn. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.